In today's episode of the Pathmark Presents podcast, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Megan Galloway, and she's heading over as the head of growth at Campfire. And Campfire is a very interesting concept. It's an immersive leadership and development program. And today we want to be really learning, what that all means, but also we want to dive in what does the role of growth entail? We always know of like SaaS products here in the show or software products. And today we want to be looking at it from a very slightly different angle. So, Megan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Very good. So, yeah, give us a 360 overview. What is Campfire all about?
Yeah, Campfire is exactly what it sounds like. It's a really great meeting place for your managers to come and have open conversations about things that they need to know, like giving feedback or having one-on-ones or building trust. Those are all things that we create safe space around the campfire, so to speak, in 45-minute virtual conversations for people to learn from each other. Most of the conversations are really, we have guides that are there that their role is to guide people through the conversation to be able to learn from each other.
Very cool. And who would be participating? Maybe tell us a little bit like who do people meet? Like who's like, who does somebody meet when they're in those conversations and who is joining?
Yeah. So primarily our audience are managers. We have two different types of campfires. We have campfires that are inside of your company. So you'd be meeting with other managers from your company and really getting to know them and their styles and talking about what it means to be a manager at your company. And then secondarily, we have cross-company campfires. So those are where you can meet with leaders from other companies inside or outside of your industry to get to know what they are facing in their worlds as well.
And who would you say is typically bringing in the idea of a campfire into a company? Is that sort of, so does it come from the HR angle or is it actually your managers themselves? They pick up the idea and bring it in? Like who's typically the champion within those teams?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Primarily, it seems to be the HR function that is the person that finds us and brings us to their team. Our generally, most of our customer base are smaller, fast-growing companies that don't have a very large HR team, but leadership development is equally important to their companies. So we provide a really easy solution for them to give access to leadership development to all of their leaders, particularly in that fast-growing environment when it's so critical.
Gotcha. And now you as a head of growth, have to obviously sort of address those different, let's call them personas, as you were mentioning. How do people hear about Campfire? Like what's the typical journey of somebody getting to know and getting started, or in other words, the client acquisition channels that you guys leverage?
Yeah, we have a couple of different channels. One of the big initiatives that we have going right now is called Try a Campfire. So a lot of our outreach is to have people come experience it for free, just so they can get a feel for what it even means to be in a campfire. So we host 4 Try a Campfires every week that I facilitate and I guide. And it's been wonderful. We've had people from all over the world coming to these, which has been amazing. And just really having some really intentional conversations about topics like building trust or figuring out where you want to go in your career and have those conversations with your teams and things like that.
Very, very nice. And you have like a very sort of, I would say, very detailed full website. Like if I'm going through the website and everybody who's listening in, you can head over to getcampfire.com. There's a lot of little details that bring the concept to life on the website. I'm curious, what do you think? What role does the website play in their journey of getting to know and getting started with Campfire?
Yeah, so we just launched the website. Knew our head of marketing really led that effort and did an incredible job. So the new website, as of the last couple of weeks, we want people to be able to immediately feel like they're sitting around the campfire and get a feel for exactly what we do and get an understanding for how we can help their managers through these types of conversations. But I think the website really does encapsulate the feeling that we're trying to create, which is that safety that you feel when you're sitting around the campfire with your friends or with people that you care about, and you're trying to talk about things that are real in real life, because that's exactly what managers have to do as well.
I think it's a very interesting concept that you bring up there, which is like a certain feeling that the website portrays. A lot of websites are relatively neutral in that regard, and you guys really portray, like you said, a feeling of calm in a way when going through the website. Very cool. Okay, now So you as a head of growth, like where do you see things going? You know, like a concept like this, like obviously it's a very interesting concept what you're doing in terms of growth channels in the future. Maybe could you give us a hint? Like what are things that you may be thinking about or having in your mind to grow a concept like that?
Yes. So we're very focused on building community. So that's another growth channel that we're really looking at right now is how do we provide community and genuine connection to people out there that may not have access to leadership development resources otherwise. So that's something that's really important to us right now that we're focusing on. We're looking at a couple of different avenues for this, and one of those being social networks as well. We're really active on places like LinkedIn. We're really interested in providing real value for people so that our biggest mission is to help everyone get universal access to leadership development as they need it. So it's really important us to get that thought leadership out there and create a sense of community around some of those things.
Very cool. So we talked a little bit about growth. We talked about what you guys are doing and who you're serving. Now I'm curious to learn a little bit more about your journey. So in your function as a growth leader, you obviously there's tons of things to learn. I assume you probably have tons of hats at the same time. Where do you sort of educate yourself? Like what is, with all the content out there and all the noise, where do you read and how do you filter what you personally like to educate yourself on when it comes to growth?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I've spent most of my career non-traditionally in a growth role. I've been in learning and development inside of companies, which has been amazing. And Campfire really caught my eye because of the way that they're doing this. I really believe in building community and helping leaders learn from each other. That's something that really resonates with my values and my mission. And it's just to make the world a little bit more connected. So I started with Campfire full time about a month ago. And to be totally honest, I have no idea what I'm doing for the most part. I am learning a lot right now, and it's amazing. And so I, some things I'm just leaning into and trying to find the best ways to connect with people genuinely to provide them value. So a lot of resources about value-based growth are super helpful right now. There's also a program at Aspireship is the name of the company that provides free resources to people trying to break into SaaS sales to get an understanding for how they can better approach some of those things. Like I've never used a CRM before this. I have no idea what I'm doing with HubSpot. So I'm learning through things like that as well that I really love. And also like the community on LinkedIn is absolutely incredible. Like there's so many people there that are willing to help and to share knowledge and expertise. And so really been leaning into the community there too of people that are just willing to give information and be like pseudo coaches. And I do that in return for them as well with the things that they're dealing with as managers. So it's just been, I love the idea of just really building a community and thought leadership sharing.
Very nice. And since we slowly but surely getting towards the end of the interview, I'd love to jump into our rapid fire questions to get to know you and your journey a little bit better. Are you ready for those?
Let's do it.
What's the last book you read or the last podcast you listened to?
The last book that I read or that I'm in the middle of reading is Brene Brown's Atlas of the Heart.
What is one single thing your company is focused on the most at the moment?
Building community and real resources for managers to learn from each other.
If there would be no boundaries in technology, so everything is possible, what's the one thing you would fix for your role today?
That's a great question. I think ways to connect with more people even faster to build real, genuine, meaningful connection with them.
What's the last thing that kept you awake at night about the company?
So we're a small company. We're growing really quickly. So just trying to find the right resources to make sure that we can grow the way that we want to grow.
And for the very last question, I would like to do a little bit of time travel. Let's go back to the days of the University of Colorado, Denver. Now you're heading out of that last piece of formal education, like into your career. Like, what's the one advice you would give yourself for your journey on that day leaving formal education?
Okay, so that day, I was 37 weeks pregnant with our son. I was getting my MBA full-time and I was working full-time. And if I could go back and tell myself anything, it would be to slow down. I tend to go pedal to the metal on everything. And there's a lot of space for us to learn how to go a little bit slower and not to be perfect. And a career journey doesn't have to be linear. It can be anything that makes us feel fulfilled. So that's what I would tell myself.
And I really appreciate you took the time with us today to give us a glimpse of an insight into Campfire, how you're thinking about growth, but also about your journey as the head of growth. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about Campfire, what's the one thing that people should remember?
Yeah, if they want to come join us at a campfire, we'd love to have them. It's a safe space for them to learn from other managers and talk about the things that are going on in their real life.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathfinder Presents.
Thank you for having me.